Welcome to Red Squirrel Base Camp. This is the cabin that we've rented out for about 4 days or so. Today's our last full day. In the last episode, we did not do too well. We only killed 2 squirrels. Could have had a total of about 6, but we couldn't capitalize on every opportunity, so we came back to camp with 2 squirrels. So today, we're going to try to see if we can stack that number up so that we have enough squirrels to do some type of squirrel recipe to feed 3 people.
We just made it out here and we're not far from the car. We're hiking back into the same spot where I got mine yesterday, and we just had a squirrel fire off in the same exact clump of trees. Now the thing that I always mention when it comes to squirrel hunting is you often hear them before you ever see them. In this case, it's true, we haven't seen them, but we heard them chirping away up here. So I'm just standing here momentarily to see if he gives off his location again so I can move in. When it comes to squirrels, they're not super skittish, so like you don't have to be too concerned about being too noisy or letting them see you. In fact, I'd argue that it's better to let them see you so that they can just like post up and look at you and stay still, give you a still target. I have a squirrel spotted. He's running right on the ground. Well, probably would have had him if I didn't have to film that. That's part of the challenge. This one, it's really easy to lose visual when you're like looking at the squirrel and then taking your eyes off of it to come finding the camera screen, and then it moves. It's a jumble mess. It's part of the challenge. It's kind of why I enjoy squirrel hunting. It was up on this tree, came down, ran up here, and once they're on the ground, it's nearly impossible to get a shot off because they're just constantly moving and you have a lot more brush on the ground. That's the only squirrel I've heard of this morning. I think this squirrel ran that way, so I'm gonna go back down here and wait out, see if another one comes through. gosh, that one. I've been trying to set up on the squirrel. He's in and out of the brush. One just came up from my bottom. Went up in a tree. All I saw was the head sticking out. And I wasn't super stable, but it was close enough that I thought I could squeeze it off. I just missed, and he went down the tree and somewhat scurried away. Dang. Chris and I are back at the truck. I missed one this morning. Chris killed one. I don't think Wachong's got anything. He hasn't responded, so we just told him that we're gonna be at the truck. We might move spots, but we're gonna eat lunch first. It's been okay, but since we're back here to take a break and eat lunch, I want to tell you guys about the sponsor of this video, which is Tidewee, which they are a hunting gear company, and they make gear specifically at more affordable price points. With today's market in the hunting space, there are some things, clothing, boots, packs, where you pay a lot of money to get it. And Tidewee, they've sent me a bunch of clothes, and the biggest thing about these clothes is that they are heated, so they all come with a battery pack, and if you get cold, then you simply turn on the heated vest or the heated jacket and you warm right up. And with the amount of features that these jackets and vests and even insulated pants have, they still come at a very approachable price point. So just want to thank Tidewee for helping the channel out, helping myself out, and helping keep me warm at an affordable price point when we're out here in the dead of winter in the mountains and it's cold. So they have a lot of stuff: hunting blinds, hunting chairs, clothing, you name it. You can check it out at tidewee.com. If you're interested in purchasing something, use my discount code down in the description below. Save you some cash. There's a squirrel over here. There was also one in front of me. We're back out for the second spot of the day. This weather is beautiful. This sun that's hitting all the treetops is warming all the nest up, and it seems like these squirrels are getting really active. I'm gonna settle down here, see if this squirrel right here pops out for me. There's one over here. I'll keep tabs on that guy for now. I got him. Oh, we got him. Chris shot one over here. He got it. He came up this way, and I talked to him, and then there was a squirrel barking that way, so Chris went back, and then I heard the squirrel chirping at me, and I'm like, what? Chris was just right here, and he was hopping around right here, eating some remnants right there. And I just made sure that Chris went that way. There's a squirrel right here. Man. Such a pretty little critter. I don't know. I'm so thankful for these little animals, man. we're doing pretty decent. So we have definitely enough squirrels to make a good dinner now. But this one's so pretty. Just can't get over how pretty these little guys are. The one I shot yesterday doesn't really have a tail, but this one has a tail. There's squirrels going off everywhere right now. So this is what I tell people about. This is the type of sign that you want to look for when you're hunting squirrels. Western grays are the same thing. They're squirrels. So these right here are actually pine cones, and this is not an actual pine cone, but this is what these squirrels do. They go and they just like tear these pine cones apart, and then you see how this is all just remnants right here, as well as on that stump right there. That's what they do. Squirrels will come into a spot and they'll tear a pine cone apart, and they leave all this remnant right here, and that's how you know that it's an active feeding ground for squirrels. So Chris shot one. That's the one he shot this morning. He just killed this guy, and then that's mine right there. So we've taken 2 out of here, but there are squirrels everywhere in here. The biggest thing is just trying to spot them, and not only spot them, but let them stand still enough that you get a shot, because we're talking about a really small target here. That squirrel's going off. So we're gonna try to do some more damage, because there's a lot of squirrels around here. Are you comfortable?
Yeah, it's not that steady.
It's up to you. He ran to the right. He's on the log. He's still there. He's running to the right. He's to the right. I think he just ran on the ground. So, with what just happened with Chris is why I've been telling Chris, like, before you take a shot, always find a tree that you can lean up against, or if you're just like standing in a spot waiting for a squirrel to go off, or you're waiting, always position yourself to the left of the tree if you're right-handed. If you're right-handed, or if you're left-handed, go on the right side of the tree. Why? Because we don't carry a trekking pole or a shooting stick or anything. So this is how I do. So right now I'm overlooking a bunch of trees, and I'm standing to the left of this tree, so that if I see a squirrel, I can lean up against this tree, use my left hand to like use it as like a rest almost, and you're a lot more stable like that, as opposed to shooting offhand like that. So always have smart positioning whenever you're standing in wait. So right now I'm just waiting for a squirrel to go off or a squirrel to run by, and I'm making sure that I'm by a good tree and I have all the angles that I need if a squirrel shows up. Got another one. Thank you, tree. I was just telling you about why using a tree is gonna boost your chance of hitting the animal way higher. Even when I was leaning up against the tree, I was still a little wobbly, but we got him. He wasn't faced the best, but he was stationary. I was simply standing there by the tree. I was actually looking the other way in those trees, but this guy started barking behind me, and I could tell he was on the ground, and I thought he was on that log, but he was actually on this stump right here. He was right on this tree right here, or this stick, when I shot, and he rolled. Beautiful little critter. Thank you, buddy. Appreciate you. It's another one. These little guys, they are so pretty. We're actually doing pretty well at the second spot. For sure, we're gonna have a lot of squirrel meat to go around for the three of us. Just little black bushy tail with some orange tips. Let me go over my weapon of choice in case any of you are wondering. This is my Savage 17 HMR. I have it topped with the Vortex Diamondback 4-12 by 40 rifle scope, and then I have a Kestrel Glassing Systems throw lever on top of that. And I'm just shooting some cheap Winchester ammo. When it comes to squirrel hunting, I've said it time and time again, if you've watched my Western gray squirrel hunting videos, squirrel hunting is one of the most easy species to dip your toes in, because it takes something very inexpensive like this Savage 17 HMR setup that I have, and squirrels are abundant, truthfully. Like, they're pretty abundant, and you could come out here and have yourself some fun. And these, I have never ate a red squirrel because I've never hunted them before. From what I have read, a lot of people have said that people don't go after red squirrels because they don't taste as good as a Western gray or a fox squirrel or any of those type of squirrels. So whenever somebody says that there's a certain species that is not good eating, I kind of go out of my way to purposely hunt that animal within reason. So we're gonna try this out, because to me it's like a red squirrel and a Western gray squirrel, they both eat very similar stuff, pine cones, acorns, and whatnot. So I'm not too sure where the difference is between the two. With that said, let's go back and see if we can't put another one on the ground. Now that was a little awkward. I walked up, stood on this tree, I was looking around me. I look in this small little tree, there was like a black dot, and I'm like, there's no way that's a squirrel. Sure enough, there's a squirrel just standing in that branch, or sitting in that branch looking at me the whole time. And I could tell he was very comfortable. He wasn't gonna go anywhere, so I took my sweet time on the tree again, shot, he dropped. So the biggest thing I tell people when it comes to squirrel hunt, as always, whenever you shoot a squirrel, always remember the exact tree that you're shooting it in, so that when it drops and you go over to it, you don't get confused as to like which tree you shot it. Because once you get close, or you kind of take a different angle, all the trees kind of look the same, and it's easy to take a wrong tree for the tree that you shot the squirrel in. But I know I shot him right up here, and he just dropped. Oh, there's another one. I went for a neck shot on this guy. Beautiful. This one's a pretty nice one. Really big one. Awesome. I have 4 red squirrels right here, skinned, cleaned, washed. So the only thing left to do is I need to go in and cut each of these squirrels into more finger-sized foods. If you're interested in learning how to process, skin a squirrel, there's a video that I will link in the description of this video, because I don't want to put my channel at risk. So YouTube's pretty sensitive when it comes to that type of stuff, so I'm not going to show it. That's just playing YouTube rules. So
The thing about doing anything with wild game is because you often shoot them, not every single squirrel is gonna clean the exact same way. For example, if you hit a squirrel in the shoulder, that shoulder is probably toast. If you hit them in the head, there's not too much to worry about there because I just discard the head, so on and so forth. You get the point. But for the most part, everybody did pretty well with shooting headshots, necks, and just right behind the shoulder. So we're gonna start with 4, and we're gonna do a classic stew recipe. The biggest thing I'm trying to get away from this is there really a taste difference between red squirrel and gray squirrel? I've hunted for western grays for the past few years. I have a pretty good taste for those, and I like to eat western grays a lot. But just according to people, they say that red squirrel is not as good table fare as the counterpart. So the first thing I have recognized is there is a little bit of a scent to each of these carcass. It's not a bad scent, it just has a slightly different smell than a western gray. I feel like western grays, they have a very clean smell. These ones, they have a little bit more of a piney smell, but I think that's just given with the fact that they live in pine trees and whatnot. So with that said, we're gonna fire some things up, get some stew going. I just came back from a hunt too, where I got probably over like 30 mosquito bites, and so this is not helping the cause. Gotta check the drag. It's a decent drag. What we have done is we're gonna throw in lemongrass, garlic, and ginger. We're gonna let that somewhat cook in some oil. Once you have that nice aromatic mix going, we're gonna brown the squirrel meat that we have cut up into smaller chunks, more manageable size pieces. Once you throw it in there, throw in some rough seasoning with salt and pepper, or whatever seasoning you like. I'm using straight up salt and pepper. We're going to brown the squirrel meat in the oil. Once the meat is brown, we are going to add in water. This is an option where you can go in and use a broth of your choice. For today, we're using straight up water because we're at a cabin rental and we don't have a lot of options other than water. Regardless of which route you go, you're simply adding your base to this recipe. You're going to let the whole pot come to a boil and just let the squirrel meat fully finish cooking. Once it's fully finished cooking, we're going to add in our onions, and we're going to let the onions get boiled around until they become translucent. Once that is done, then we will add in more salt and more black pepper to taste until it tastes salty enough to your liking. Once that is over, then we will throw in our peppers, in which today we're just using Thai chili peppers. Gonna throw in the peppers, let it boil around for about a minute or two, and then that's essentially the end of it. Turn off the heat and then throw in your toppings, which in this case is green onions and cilantro. That's essentially the stew that we're eating today, and then top it off on top of some rice. Stew works best with cold rice in my opinion, but you're also more than welcome to put it on top of hot rice. That is what we have here today, and we're gonna keep it simple because when you're taste testing something for the first time, doing a recipe where you're oversaturating the natural flavor of the meat, I feel like it doesn't do justice to how the actual wild animal tastes. So we're keeping it simple so that the red squirrel meat still has enough of its natural flavor and we didn't oversaturate it with all the little condiments and other ingredients that we added. So I threw the stew over some white rice. No weird smell to this squirrel meat at all, other than when I first processed it. The base soup tastes pretty standard, honestly, but we have a little leg from one of the squirrels, and we'll see. It is tough. We must have shot a really old one. It is really tough. So I'm not sure if the one I got here is just a really old squirrel or if they are naturally simply tough. Not crazy though. In terms of flavor though, they taste just like any other squirrel. Honestly, I couldn't even tell you what it would taste like. It just tastes like meat, honestly. I think if you threw in this right here in the same pot with a rabbit, you wouldn't even be able to tell the difference. I think red squirrel is something that's going to be on my list more often than not now. This is Chris, with Chung's getting his bowl. What's your thoughts? Oh, you got a tender one.
Mm-hmm. Tastes like meat. Tastes like chicken or something.
You wouldn't guess the difference between that or a rabbit or a Western Grey.
Mm-hmm. That's good.
It's like legit good.
It is.
Yeah.
It's good.
No gaminess. Do you taste anything?
No.
Yeah. It's clean.
Mm-hmm.
The rich cage is like.
What?
Oh, you guys got some tender ones.
Mm-hmm.
I took all the gums. There's not much on the rib cage, but there's enough. Thoughts?
It's not bad.
What does not bad mean?
It's just good and it's good.
It just tastes like meat.
Mm-hmm.
That concludes our first ever red squirrel hunting trip. This was our base camp. It was a wonderful stay at this cabin. That wraps up the end of 3-4 days or so. Pretty happy with the turnout. We're gonna head on home. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.